Hey guys, Skilled Legend here, and today I just want to talk about a little bit of something different that I don't normally talk about, but it's kind of like just some things that I just kind of needed to get off my chest about some of the things that some of other people have been talking about, and it's more along the lines of things to do with Ash's age and Ash's character and things that writers have said and that kind of thing. And anyways, so I've seen a lot of people talking about Takashi Shudo's book or his remarks, and I'm not sure if it has to do with the fact that you know um, his anniversary of his death just passed or whatnot, but it's been a big topic around the community in Pokemon just in general right before the Sun and Moon game comes out. Excuse me, before the Sun and Moon games just came out, or I mean, even afterwards, it was kind of a big thing. And anyways, if you don't know who he was, he wrote the major. He was the main anime writer, basically, of the show up until after Diamond and Pearl, and then he passed away in 2010. Um, and so, but he had a lot of ideas on and a lot of influence on where the anime would go in general. And a lot of his things were quite different in the aspects of how he thought and his processes for the anime. Luke did a pretty good video about it. I'll post a link to it if it's still available. I don't know if he deleted it or not. But anyways, just a kind of a short and sweet little thing that he talked about was the how in this book or this interview, um, Shudo talked about how Ash would never age because the show is supposed to be kind of like, well, Pokemon's kind of like Peter Pan in a way. Um, Once the Pokemon evolve or the characters age, they kind of lose their innocence, and then that the adults are mostly supposed to represent the bad guys or the loss of innocence, and therefore Ash would never age. But it's held true for a long time. Obviously, we haven't seen Ash age except for the little 1 year anniversary non-canon. I think it was movie or episode that we got. But yeah, I mean, I could see why people are starting to doubt that Ash would um ever age, even in this, even in Sun and Moon, because of the whole. A lot of people saw the demo and they saw that you have to be 11 to do the trials, and then people were like, oh well, the demo is in its own little alternate universe that isn't canon. But then people saw the game and realized that there's 3 or 4 mentions of having to be 11 or that your character is 11 and doing the trials, and so people kind of got hope again, and then these interviews popped up again and people lost hope again. And here's kind of what I wanted to talk about, and here's the main reason that I think that Ash could age. Now, I'm not saying he's going to. I am not saying that um, anything will ever change about that, but I feel like it possibly could. Is that recently, uh, part of the post that came out along with those interviews, it was actually a couple of days later, was the interview of him talking about how the Pokemon series would end. And basically, in that interview, he said if the Pokemon anime were to ever end, it would be Ash as a old man recounting the stories to his loved ones, and that it would be in the real world. And when I say the real world, I mean the real world, like our world. That Pokemon were not real and they were only a figment of his imagination that he was telling the story to his loved ones before he passed away. So, Pikachu wasn't real. Um, Charizard wasn't real. All these Pokemon that he grew up with or talked about or in the entire series were not real. There's no such thing as Greninja and all that. And so the other thing that wasn't really clear in that interview was whether the people that he had relationships with were real. Um, Misty or Brock or any of the characters, you know, from Brock to Clement to Dawn to Serena, whatever. Like it just wasn't ever mentioned if any of those characters were real or not, but it said that he would have ended it with the real world interpretation of it was just all in Ash's imagination, and he was telling the stories to his kids um, when he was older. Basically, kind of like a bedtime story type of ending. And, I thought that was kind of stupid, and I'm actually kind of disappointed that that was kind of their go-to plan. But you also have to remember at one point they were planning on just ending the anime after Gen 1, and they had like a love story ending. And so that's why I think that things can change, because that changed, and also obviously even though Ash hasn't aged, I doubt that they would end the story with that kind of ending now that they have another quote unquote love story kind of going on at the end of XY and XY and Z. Although it still could possibly happen, which I kind of would be really disappointed. But I think that that means that things can change if, you know, they really wanted to change these things. Now, I'm not sure if they will, because they might want to honor his place as head anime writer and honor his wishes and his memory and make that happen the way that he wanted it to happen. But at the same time, it seems like things have changed. And the reason that, like, I personally love XY and XYZ so much, and I feel like a lot of people did too, is if you watch the anime for the last 20 years, like if you're old enough, or if you've watched it since the very beginning, or you just watched it, um, like you watched your season and then went back and watched the rest, watch your season again, and then continued watching. However, you ended up doing it. It just, if you've noticed that, like in this season, and I know this happened in Diamond and Pearl as well, um, Ash just seemed a lot more confident and the center of attention. And the reason it was a lot better in X and Y than Diamond and Pearl is because of Brock. Now, I really like Brock as a character. This is not a diss. This is nothing against him. But Brock is literally the teacher in every single season that he's been in. He literally just outdoes Ash in every single way because he's had more experience as a gym leader and as a Pokemon trainer in every single way, shape, and form. Because of his age and other things. I mean, he's obviously older than Ash. But anyways, besides that point, XY didn't have Brock, and XY had Clement, who's around Ash's age, a little less confident than Ash and Brock, and afraid to try new things. And so this made a perfect season for Ash to be the teacher, be the center of attention, and show his maturity, because Serena was a new trainer, and she was trying to do Pokemon showcases, which is, I mean, no matter what you're trying to do in the Pokemon world, it requires training your Pokemon, loving your Pokemon, bonding with your Pokemon. And Ash is really good at that as well, because obviously, he wants to be a Pokemon master. And like I said with Clement, he just wasn't very good at going outside of his comfort zone, trying new things, and being the person that he really wanted to be. And so Ash was a great role model for that. And obviously, Bonnie's not old enough to be a trainer, and she's kind of younger. Well, obviously, she's younger, but she's more naive than even Ash is about the world around her. And so, this season, Ash really got to show off his maturity because of how much of uh, because he was the center of kind of the attention. He was the teacher. He was the role model that all the characters looked up to in this season. And it really made for a great change of pace, considering that, like I said, every previous season, he's learning from someone else up to a certain point. I mean, obviously, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like he always learned from someone else. And I'm not saying like, oh my god, like he learned a lot from May or Dawn. Like he did learn little things from them because, like once they started to learn things, um, he kind of learned different aspects of their life that he could apply to himself. But what I'm saying is like every single season, he had Brock to look up to and Brock to continually teach him. But this season, it was the other way around. He got to teach the other companions about Pokemon and things that they could apply to their life that he had learned. And so it was just great. It was great to see his maturity. And then to top everything off, just having the relationship aspect, having the storyline of having, you know, a person that he knew from childhood return to his life just added more amazingness to this storyline. Whether she liked Ash or not didn't really matter to me. It was just nice to see someone that connected with Ash from the past. Because that's the thing people don't really realize is there's not really all that many people that we know about from Ash's past. We don't know his dad. We don't know, you know, things about what happened before he became a Pokemon trainer. We don't know much about, you know, what he did before he became a Pokemon trainer, and then adding that element of having someone that came from his past like Serena, even though we only got little tiny glimpses of into Ash's life as before when he was before a trainer, it was still really nice to get to see those little moments, even though some people wanted them to be more focused on Ash and less of Ash and Serena. But anyways, I don't know. I think that they could end the story differently, and I hope that they do end the story differently. I just and like I do think that Ash can age because I don't think that they can really go down that road any longer. People either want to see a new protagonist or they want to see Ash mature more because X, Y, and Z sent that message that hey, we can make Ash look as old as we want and he's still 10 years old. And it was a great example to send to people, but I mean, if you're going to make a great storyline like that and you're going to, you know, have all these elements of, making Ash look a lot better because of the people that he's around are mostly new trainers and new to the Pokemon world and the aspect of compared to him, you might as well just continue it and not reset him and not make him look immature, not make him look bad, um, because it's about time. I mean, we've been watching this for 20 years of development, and we finally got some. Why change it? Why make it go back to him being kind of incompetent in his abilities? Why make things back to where they started before X and Y? I don't know. And to end the story, I think that they need to, connect all these stories together, kind of like what they're trying to do or try to do with Sun and Moon, the game. I don't know if they're going to connect the story even more, but I guess we'll have to just kind of wait and see. But it just would be nice to have everything kind of just fall into place in the anime since they did so well with the games. But anyways, what do you guys think? Do you think that it's kind of stupid that they are okay with ending it that way, with it just being all in Ash's imagination? Do you guys want more mature storylines, or do you not even really care that much? Anyways, let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.